Hello there, Thando Book Club lovers. I am so happy to be here with you as we celebrate our first season here on 3K TV. We thought, what better way to celebrate some of the most loved moments we've had than to go back and look at some of our best whys, our best themes, and best readings. In this segment, we're going to look back at the best whys. The first why that was quite heartwarming for me was from Doris Mufara and her story about why a 50-year-old pastor and grandmother would request a motorcycle or a motorbike for her birthday. Watch this. So Doris, the book opens up with a story where you recount how your husband bought you a motorbike. What is a woman who, although you look very young, but are a grandmother in your 50s and a pastor doing with a motorbike as a gift?
Interesting story. From a very young age, I got interested in motorbikes, the big type of motorbikes, after watching a movie on a black and white TV, by the way. Probably Hell's Angels were being depicted there, I don't know. But over the years, the idea kept creeping up on me, and I began to wonder what it was about. So literally, I prayed about it. That's when I realized that there was actually, God was using that as an analogy to teach me a very huge lesson. Deal with fear, taking risks. You know, we're always making excuses. That's why we never take a leap of faith. So whether you're looking at it from the perspective of just having fun in life, we're afraid to go and bungee jump because I might die. We're afraid to go and do skydiving because I might die. You know, I don't know whether it's an African thing, but most importantly, the Lord was just teaching me that it's important for us to hear His voice and take the leap of faith that we need to.
Our next why in this segment came from Tine Jakarasi. And I loved her story of why she wrote the book, being about bringing unity and keeping peace and helping more people and being positive. Take a look at this. I'm, for one, am very intrigued by this book, especially the title, Turning Pain into Power. Now, people don't necessarily associate pain with power, and obviously when people read the book, they'll understand why that is.
Yeah.
But how did you come up with that title, and why was it important to pen this story with that message?
So my experience has been painful, still is, but it has created a lot of power. When people, you know, usually do introductions of what I've done and what I've managed to achieve, that is the power. And I wrote the story almost, I think, 10 years. It's about 10 years of life in that book. And just sitting down and doing reflections and saying, wow, it didn't turn out as bad as I think it would. In the beginning, it was really sad, and there are parts of the book that I'm like, gosh, you went through this. But then when I look on the other side of it, I'm like, something great came out of this. You are this person now. You've achieved so much, and your experience turned pain into power. That's exactly what happened. And it was meditation, it was prayer. What do I call this book? And that's what God gave me.
Well, I think that's such a powerful message, because often we look at our past with shame, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for the effort and work we put into moving from those shameful places. Because there's something that in pain, I think, for women, where there's always a sense of shame attached to it, even if that shame is false.
Yes.
And you talk a little bit about that in your book, which we'll get into in the next segment. But what was your writing process like? And since the book was released, what has surprised you about the response to the book?
So when I started writing the book, it was for women with endometriosis. Endometriosis is a condition that affects 1 in 10 women. They say 1 in 8 now. It seems to be quite common, but a lot of people don't know about it. And so I was feeling like the narrative around women's health issues is so taboo. You can be in a room with women talking about women's health issues, and nobody will speak up. Women who have not only endo but fibroids, PCOS, no one will speak up because of that shame. And so I thought, let me tell the story, especially for African women, because it's different for all of us. We have different issues, healthcare issues, a lot of the things that I speak about in the book as well, in terms of even culture and tradition. I wanted to tell that story. And also, when I Googled to look for Black African women who've written stories like these, I think I am the only one. And I was like, someone has to tell the story. And so that was sort of my writing process, just going back and reliving all the experiences, trying to remember it, because some of it, I think just from the trauma of it, I also shut it out. And I just realized that our stories need to be told. And a lot of the times, you have to tell the story, right? There are lots of gynecologists that have written about some of these conditions, but some of them are men, so they've never been through it. And yeah, it was really just me wanting to tell the story, not only for myself, but for so many other people. And what's interesting is that even people who don't have endo have read the book and said, wow, it changed my life. Some of the themes in the book, such as shame and embarrassment and non-achievement and limitation, are things that everyone goes through. I've had men who've read it and said, oh my gosh, I need to do better as a dad to, my daughter. I've had mothers who've read it and said, oh, I need to equip myself with information. So that has been very surprising that it was targeted at a certain group, but I think anyone can read the book because we all go through painful experiences. You just have to kind of make it personal for yourself.
Welcome back. We're back here in studio on the Thando Book Club, and we're talking best moments from season 1. In this segment, I would like to celebrate the best themes. Usually the second segment is a time where we talk about the themes in a book, some of the characters, the stories, the messages. And in this segment, a couple of themes come to me. The first is from actually two of our authors, Dudu Manenga and Virginia Piri. Both of them spoke about why, or rather the fact that women need to write more because there is a missing part of our story and a missing piece of our history for as long as women's voices remain silent. They spoke about the untold stories of women in the liberation. Check this out. His Daughter's Destiny's Devotional. So that's your most recent release, yes, done like a month ago. Mm-hmm. What's the story here? Because this one is meaty compared to the first two books.
So this one, I think, has been a long journey. So there are 30 women that we will meet in this book. And the first one is the first lady, the lady of First Eve.
Oh, wow.
From the Bible. Mm-hmm. And from Eve, I'm learning things and saying, how does one do better than the women that have gone ahead of us? Or what else can we learn from them? So Eve is the first woman to appear on earth, fully grown, first one to have her baby, first one to have a child killed by another child. How was she praying? What did she ask God to forgive Cain? What was going on? And did Adam understand every time that she cried? She didn't have a sister to go to. She was just that right there with this guy. Did he understand? But because sometimes as women, we're going through stuff that when you're trying to explain even to your partner at home, to say, I just want to cry. They're like, why? I just feel like crying. But because we are so unique like that and so beautiful, I think for me it embraces that femininity. And I also took some very naughty girls in the Bible. There's a section called Talk of the Town. And with the Talk of the Town, I did an extract which I printed for women in prison. And I went and I gave them the copies. The likes of Rahab. Rahab is known in the city as that girl. I mean, where else can two guys go to but to Rahab's house? And so, but then she makes something, she saves her generation, her household, you know, even though in the past she had bad choices. So we have talk of the town, you have the famous 5, the girls that are known up, you know, in the Bible and stuff like that. But the ultimate thing is that we are drawing from their stories, learning from their mistakes. So it has a cute section at the bottom where it says, I resolve. After I've learned from Eve, after I've learned from Sarah, and Sarah is the one who gives Abraham the girl and says, okay, why don't you just have her? And then the next is, get rid of her. You know, our choices, this is, then I resolve to do this and this and this. So I don't know, I don't know which one I love the most, but I think I like how that one turns out, because I like people who make conclusions and say, this is what I will do, and resolve to do it.
I've got nothing against men. I'm born of man as well. I've got a father, I've got brothers, I've got uncles, I've got everything. They're all out there, even my own relatives, they understand. I have to write what I write. Of course, some of them are not happy. And, you know, Virginia's got a big mouth, Virginia talks too much, Virginia does this. That's moi. And I will always do that. Somebody has to intervene. And also, the economic situation. It is patriarch who holds the key to the economies that the women have no access. Even if they work, how much do they get? Even if they sell this, where does it all go? It disappears into expenses. Lack of responsibility. I'm not bashing patriarch, but they can hear it, and that's how it is. In fact, it's across the board. It's not only about economics. We're talking of politics, we're talking of economics, we're talking of education, we're talking of culture. They're even interfering with traditions. Excuse me. Africa was a matriarchal continent. What has it become? Nobody listens to women. We go to other communities in Africa and see how matriarch still does things right, even if they're in the background, but they have a say. Here now, the women are terrified, afraid.
Segueing from Virginia and Dudu, another theme that we loved was when Virginia spoke about prostitutes and their role in the Liberation War and how they shielded and protected many, many people who were looking for a safe space during that time. For us, we loved that story because it reminded us of the story of Rahab in the Bible. Take a look at this.
During the struggle, the women who were unfortunately called prostitutes. And as we went along, it's actually the sex workers. These women also played a role in the struggle. And people don't appreciate that. Or they don't want to know. They shielded people. They hid people. They actually had to hide them, conceal them, as if, you know, just... I happened to be at one time in a situation where I had to be hidden. And these women looked after me, fed me, protected me. They went to do their work because they had to work, especially in the surroundings of drinking areas and all. And that's where they also stayed, by the way. And so I stayed there. Well, I had to volunteer. I'd cook for them and do this and they told stories, very sad stories. And in the end, you realize that some were young women, some were elderly women, even though they were old, but they still had to work because their communities had rejected them for various reasons. Some, they were supposed to be called witches. Some could not have children. Or some were just, you know, chased away for whatever reasons. You know how it is. So I listened to all that. And then later on, more than 20 years, I kept on thinking. And then I saw the scene where I was in Bulawayo, in Harare. I saw those women. It's not a luxury. It's actually a need. In fact, it's not for themselves. It's for their children, their relatives, or even sometimes their communities. And they are risking their lives with diseases, or they can be beaten up to death, they can be stabbed, or they can fall ill, infected with STIs. That was before HIV and AIDS came. So really all this, and in the end you say, okay, wait a minute, I have to do something. You know, you needed I needed to sort of like thank the women from that time to all of them, because even in the modern day, somewhere, somehow, the sex workers do save people's lives. They do things for people in a positive way, which of course they're not appreciated, but they have a heart. They are women, they are human beings. They do their work because they have to. There's so many crises going on. What do they do?
Welcome back. We're now in the third segment of today's program. And in this segment, as you know, we love to hear the voices of our authors, basically straight from the horse's mouth. And this is where our authors usually give us a reading. And in this segment, I'd like to celebrate 3 readings that I really felt were some of our best during the season. The first is from Audrey Chirenje.
I explained that he had thrown me out of our house and brought in a new wife who had a 3-month-old baby, as I had failed to conceive during the 3 years we had been married. I explained I had fainted at work because I was 4 months pregnant and I had not known, as I believed I was barren. I explained how I was thrown out with only the clothes on my back and a few personal documents in broad daylight, with a few neighbors looking on and some pleading with him to reconsider his actions. Tamu looked really angry. "So where have you been staying?" he asked. I told him I had found a bachelor's flat in the avenues and had paid 3 months' rent in advance with the savings I had in a secret bank account. Life had humbled me, and I now had a dependent in my womb.
Thank you, Audrey. The second reading is from the author Tariro Ndoro. She, in her debut novel, Angriganda Like a Foreigner, talked to us about migration, about the othering of ourselves through our own people, but also in our experiences on foreigners in other countries. Her reading was poignant, it was powerful, and the atmosphere in the studio was amazing. Take a look at this.
Wash me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Kelly's Beach. My fascination is with the sound of the ocean, of the rolling, rushing waves, as in stuffing fingers in my ears and hearing the blood rush. My wonder lies with cargo-carrying ships, blowing foghorns in the harbor. Love, let us swim in salt water. I will be clean. Do black girls have dandruff too? A stray memory pushes to the surface. Must have been 14 years ago. The smell of head and shoulders, hot water, hostile showers, but it's the white beach sand in my hair that sends me there. Wash me with hyssop. Sometimes a big wave knocks you out, sends you tumbling underwater, washing you onto the beach like seaweed or litter. Life can be brutal that way. Storm's River Gorge carries the broken dreams of the Eastern Cape's broken dreamers. And how many times did you try it? There are no secrets here. Did you ever succeed? Wash me and I will be clean. You have forgotten your family name, my father says. Let us sing now of conches and kings. He plucks a conch from the ocean, asks if I know what it means. A spiral tattooed to the bodies of ancient kings. He who has the conch rules them all. And what is your name, he says. That is who you are, my child. Wash me. The wind and the waves and the Indian Ocean wash your soul. Even floundering, even treading water, even spat out by a mighty wave, the white sand granules stuck in your braids. You are absolved now. You are made clean.
Finally, to end a season of note and a season that has been amazing and memorable, we'd like to leave you with this reading from Memory. Memory's debut novel was a collection of short stories spoken to and about young people living in Zimbabwe. And the theme of that book was They Told Me Dreams Do Come True. And her reading is talking exactly about that. As you go along your way, remember from us here at the Thando Book Club that your dreams are possible and that they do actually come true.
They told me when I was younger that I could achieve whatever I set my mind to do. They still do. That I should dream big, and if I worked hard at it, it would come true. The sky wasn't even the limit. I could go beyond. You know what? I believed it then, but somewhere along the line I stopped dreaming and stopped believing. As things in the economy got tougher and life got more challenging, it seemed like dreaming was a luxury or even foolishness. What I'm finding now that I have started to dream again, is that life is precious and it requires courage. While I now believe that dreams can come true, I also understand that this does not mean the road is easy. I dare to dream. I fight for my dreams. I work for them. And along the way, I've found others who dare to dream. You'll read about them in this book. But before you do, I just want to say one last thing to those of you who may be knocking on the doors of places that have no room for you because you've been told it's safe, it's a safe and sure path for you. Stop trying to make something that doesn't work. Dare to dream, no matter how tough the environment may seem, and regardless of your age or expectations of where you should be in life, always remember it's never too late to dream.